Okay, we're back. Look at, I lent Denise my car.
Oh.
Can't see the driver's plate. Lent Denise my car. It didn't even honor a place in the garage.
I didn't want to hit. I have to like angle my car in just a certain way, and mine's shorter than hers, so I didn't want to damage her car.
So my car had to be out in the elements all
Exactly.
night. I heard a little screeching going, Mama, help me. I'm scared. I'm not in the home place.
That's funny.
We walked 2 miles.
Oh, we did that at the same time.
It was hot. I didn't get them at the beginning because I was running late. I've had a difficult morning so far, but still in a good mood. I am a morning person.
Not me.
Denise is not.
Not at all.
I love vacationing with the McDonald's because my family, we're morning people. The McDonald's,
Not so much, but
so much.
you'll have to admit I was up early with everybody. 'Cause
She
I
was
do
up
get
early.
It's not like I sleep in or anything like
No,
that.
she
I just
gets
don't
up.
want to talk to people.
But sometimes we wish they would have just stayed in bed.
Yeah, I'm not. I readily admit it. Gary's a morning person. He's
And then-
Mr. Chipper. I can't handle it.
My family is known for being a little bit, I guess the word would be aggressive.
Blunt?
Yeah, that too. We speak our mind.
Yes.
And we go in for the kill.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and they're like easy pickings.
Yeah, I would agree. We probably are.
But
That's why I think, like on my Facebook, I put a post where I'm like pausing on some people because I'm at the point where I'm about ready to rip some people. And I know who I am, and you can't take back words, especially when you've typed them. And so I'm like pausing a couple of people. I put that on my Facebook. And I've had some people, one said, "See you later," because she knew. It's like, yeah, I'm not.
I just don't look at them. I just skim
Oh,
past them.
but I can't. It's like when you come up to an accident, here comes a car.
Like a
When you
car
come
wreck.
up to it, yeah, you got to look. That's who I am. It's like, I have to look what they're posting, so now I just won't even.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to take care of it for me.
I know that everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I do get annoyed when they try to tell me how I'm supposed to think.
Yes, yes.
That bothers me.
Or when they bash the other opponent. Just talk about your person. Tell
Yeah.
me what's good about them. You don't have to bash the other person.
Right. Well,
which
you
they
can
are.
say what
And
they've
that
done
happens on
wrong.
both sides.
You can say what they've done, you don't like their policy on
I know,
certain
but that's
things.
not how they're
But
doing
that's
it.
not how they're doing it.
And they're just calling him, name calling, and all. I just can't even, whatever. And I'm an independent, so I have voted both ways. So it's not like I don't like the Republicans. Oh, I don't like the Democrats. No, I don't like any of it. I don't like any of it.
Yeah, I'm that way too. All right,
See ya.
we're done with our rant. We won't put it on Facebook though because Denise will pause us.
Yes, exactly.
Well, good morning. Let me fix you before I get started. 'Cause you're a little askew. There, you look a little better now. Today is Friday, August 14th. Oh my gosh, this month is almost half over already. This summer is just flowing by. Hopefully you can hear me. I know that some people say they can't, and then a lot of people say they can. So I don't know if it's just your device you're listening to me on or what. I don't know. I'm talking as loud as I can. My neighbors are probably thinking, why is she talking so darn loud? But I know, look at this. Anyway, but we have lots of birthdays. Today would have been my mother's 95th birthday. 95 she would have been. My mother passed away in March 1st of 2008, just before her 83rd birthday. Her birthday, obviously, yeah, August 14th. So, Mom, I'm thinking about you. Love you. I'll share a mom story with you. Also, it's my cousin Lynn. She lives in Toronto. No surprise, they just extended the border closing from Canada from August 21st to September 21st, and then on September 21st they're going to extend it till October 21st, and then to November, and then to December. I have a feeling, I just do. This is the longest stretch since we've seen each other. I can't remember when was the last time she was here. I think it was just before Christmas. I really do, because she goes to Minnesota for Christmas all the time. We were supposed to go to South Dakota, and we were going to go to Minnesota. We had big plans for this summer. Big plans that went just blew up in our face, and so we didn't get to do any of that stuff. But we're planning it for next summer, so we're going to do it next summer. And because I just know everything's going to be okay by next summer. I just know it. In my bones, I just feel it. But anyway, today is Lynn's birthday, so she gets a song. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lynn. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. I love you and I miss you. I really do. She would have, like I said, she usually comes at least 2 or 3 times by now. And she's not here. I just do. I've got packages here because it's cheaper for her to send them to my house, and then she comes here, visits, and then takes her packages home. So I got lots of stuff for her when she finally does get here. We'll see. Who knows? Only the shadow knows. But it's also Sally Holcomb. Sally's birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sally. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. So many birthdays. And it's also Mark Buey's birthday. He's Susie Q. Susie Buey. Susie Buey's channel. She goes by Susie Q. Today's his birthday. I saw it on Facebook. I saw their anniversary on Facebook too, because Susie doesn't tell me until a couple days later. And, you know, Mr. Eye Candy, as she calls him, gets a song because it's his birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. So many birthdays. So many birthdays. But we also have an anniversary. It is Billy and Brenda Skaggs' anniversary. Happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary. Happy, 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 happy anniversary. Happy, 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 happy anniversary. Well, happy anniversary, August 14th. My mother's birthday, everybody's birthday, yeah! So I'm going to tell you 2 stories about my mom. Well, maybe I'll come up with more than 2, but I come up with 3. How does that sound? 3 stories. 3 stories. In honor of my mother's birthday, I'm going to give you 3 stories. The first story was, it's not just a quick little story, but it was just my mother. My mother was if I could be half the mother that my mother was, and half the grandma, not even a half, if I could just be that much of the grandma that my mother was, I'd be a really good grandma. My mother was the best mom and the best grandma ever. My kids will tell you that. Her grandkids will tell you that. I thought of 4 stories because I just thought of another one. But anyway, when I was, and she was, the one thing we were always taught, which I've taught my children, and my children are teaching their children, is respect. Well, my father, when we would give him our report cards, he never looked at the grades. Never looked at the grades. My mother always looked at the grades. My father never looked at the grades. He'd turn it to the citizenship page. And you damn well better had all A's on the citizenship. You better not have even had a B. You do not ever, ever, ever want to talk back to a teacher or anything. And if you got called to the school, you didn't have a side. The teacher's side was the only side they believed. They didn't believe your side. So I told you when I ran into that issue with my sewing at school, they took the teacher's side. And then regretted it afterwards when they found out that the teacher really did have all of my material. You'll have to go back. I don't even know what video it was. Anyway, I accused the teacher of stealing my material. She said she didn't. I was brought to the office. My mother was called. It was a whole hoopla. And come to find out the teacher did take my stuff. But she was trying to teach me a lesson, but at that point, I don't know what the lesson was because I found it in her desk drawer one time when she was opening the drawer to get something out, and I looked and I go, there's my material. You took my material. Anyway, but, so like I said, we were always taught that we had to be respectful. And I have this memory so vividly clear, vividly clear. I was probably about 13 or 14 years old, and we all had our little jobs that we had to do to help with the dinner or something. And I was supposed to peel the potatoes, and I wasn't peeling the potatoes for some reason. And my mother kept telling me, you know, more than once. You always like to think you were that perfect child that your parents only had to tell you something once. No, I can honestly say that happened more than once, that it took more than one time telling me to do something. But I was supposed to peel the potatoes, and I didn't want to peel the potatoes. And so my mother said, fine, you're not having dinner. I'm going to do the potatoes. You just won't have dinner. You know what? I didn't starve, but I didn't get dinner that night either. I had to wait till breakfast, and I had a really good breakfast the next morning. But I remember so vividly, she was peeling the potatoes with the peeler, and she was going like this. And I was arguing with her, I'll do the potatoes, I'll do the potatoes, let me do the potatoes. And she said, nope, you've already lost it, you're not having dinner, you might as well go in your room. And the whole time she's peeling the potatoes. And then I went, I don't know what possessed me, but I remember saying, I'm like 13, 14 years old. Can't believe this came out of my mouth. But I said to her, who the hell do you think you are to tell me I'm not getting dinner? My mother, in the same sweep, put the potato, the peeler, whacked me across the face, picked up the peeler, and continued on with that potato like she didn't even stop. I'm in amazement. I was like, oh my God, how did you do that? How did you slap me and not lose a beat on peeling that potato? So then when my dad got home, I just knew not to tell him. So when we were setting the table, because I still had to do all my other stuff, even though I wasn't sitting down, my dad looked at the thing, and we didn't have assigned seating. We just sat wherever we sat. And he said to my mom, he called my mom Din, D-I-N. He says, okay, Din, who's not having dinner with us tonight? And she said, Sandra. And he said, oh, okay. That was it. I didn't get dinner. I was so hungry in the morning. I ate whatever it was she made. I didn't even care. I was so hungry. But I never said that to her again because I learned. And then a second story really doesn't involve me so much. It was more Denise. But Denise was driving my mother. We used to take, when my mother was losing her eyesight and she couldn't drive, so we would take different Saturdays that we would take my mother wherever she needed to go, get her hair done, go to the dime store to get like whatever, and just you did her running for her for the whole day. And she wanted for lunch this place that we used to be by us called Blimpie Sub. She wanted a Blimpie. Well, the sub place was, there was a motel that was just probably a half a mile, maybe a mile away from it. Maybe, I think about half a mile away, that it wasn't like a motel. It was like, it's where the prostitutes and the drug dealers and everybody stayed. It wasn't, you're not going to bring a family member and say, oh, you can stay at it's not there anymore. The Admiral Motel, you can stay there. No, you just knew who was the clientele that was there. But my mother wasn't able to walk very far either because she was having a lot of issues. So Denise left her in the car, and she went in and got the subs. She gets back into the car, and here's this prostitute, drug-addicted prostitute, sitting in the back seat of the car. And Denise is like, get out of my car. And then my mother, because my mother was kind of just a very nice person, I guess, she said, oh, this is Sally. I offered her a ride home. And Denise said, no, get out of my car. And so then the lady said, well, who the hell do you think you are? Your mother said I could be in the car. She says, get out of my car. And so then my mother turned and said, she's the boss. Get out of the car. So the lady very reluctantly got out of the car. And Denise told my mother, she says, don't ever do that again. You're not supposed to open the door for anybody. That's why I had the doors locked. She said, yeah, I had to unlock the door to let her in. So Denise had told us, remember, the next time you take Mom anywhere, tell her she can't invite anybody into the car. Even after a couple days later, my mother kept saying, she seemed like a nice enough girl. She had a lot of scars on her, though. She wasn't dressed very appropriately, but she seemed like she was really lost. So, yeah, I guess so, Mom. And I said 3 stories, or did I say 4? Well, the third story involved me, because we had to go home we were staying at the cottage up in Lexington, and for some reason my mother had to come home for something, and we left all of the kids, and Denise and Mary and my sister-in-law Diane, they stayed up at the cottage, and I drove home with my mother for what, I don't even remember why we had to come home, but it's like an hour and a half drive to get home. And so we did whatever she had to do, and then we were driving back up there, and it was pouring rain, just pouring rain. And where we go, it's between Port Huron and Lexington. It's very hilly, up and down. Well, you know what hills look like. and it was like you had to really like do a lot of circles like this. The road was not a straight road. It was like constantly and then going up and down. It was like and you couldn't see like this far in front of you. It was dark, and it was pouring rain, and it was thundering, and it was lightning. And my mother was driving, and I said, "Mom, you're driving too fast." And she says, "Well, we got to get there before the storm gets worse. It's like we're driving through a tornado already. Let's slow down." She said, "No, we're going to do it. We're going to do it." And I said, "I don't know, Mom. I think we should pull off and let the rain let go." She says, "Oh, don't be such a crybaby. We're going to make it. We're going to make it." And I just happened to look out the window, and there was a bolt of lightning, and there was the double yellow line on the right. Okay, anybody that's driven knows that the double yellow line is always on the left if you live in the United States. It's always on the left. And so then I look over and I go, "Mom, I think you're on the wrong side of the road because there's a yellow line right outside this window. It's a double yellow line. We're supposed to be on the other side." And she says, "Oh my gosh." And so she real quick went over, and just as she went over, coming around the corner, we would have been head on. We would have been killed. We would have been killed. So she says, "I think I'm going to pull over until the rain goes." Because it scared her. It scared me. But it scared her even more. And so we pulled off to the side, and then we had to wait for about maybe 20 minutes or 25 minutes before it just started raining. But it was like, oh my gosh, that was so scary. But I thought I said I had 4 stories, didn't I? Or did I say I only had 3 stories? Now I can't remember what the other story was that I was going to tell. What was I talking about that I might have come up with the story? I promised you 4, I think, and I only gave you 3. Oh, Jim's calling me. I'll be back. And while I'm in there, I'm gonna rack it around in my brain because I know there was one more story in me. Okay, my son Jimmy is redoing our cupboards, and he had a question, and Jim was asking me my opinion. Doesn't really matter. Jim's going to do what Jim's going to do, but at least he asked my opinion. So, but while I was in there, I was racking my brain because I just knew that there was another story. I told you 4, and I thought of the 4th story. It involves my mother's funeral. My mother was, I guess she was a gambler. She just loved to. Oh, I actually have another story, but I'm going to save that for another day. But anyway, she's a gambler, and she loved going to the casinos. And my nephew Steve used to take him, God bless his heart. He would take her, and she never knew when to leave. She just never knew when to leave. And he would never tell her that it was time to leave. And sometimes they wouldn't get home till like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because my mother was constantly gambling. And this poor guy, he was like 19, 20. He had to start work at 6 o'clock. So he basically just dropped my mother off and then turned right around and went to work. And he never once complained. So I got to give Steve props because he was like, all of the grandkids were good to my mom. They all were. They did everything that they could possibly do for her. And she did whatever she could for them. But it was just that there wasn't much she could do towards the end. And gambling was one of the things that she could do because you'd plop her down in front of a table, and occasionally she played craps, but for the most part she played blackjack. She didn't like the machines. She'd either play blackjack or the craps, whatever that is. I don't gamble, so you can tell. I don't know. But anyway, he always brought her, all the time he brought her. And when she passed, they had her. It had just started at that point that you didn't really go to a funeral home anymore. You had the viewing at the back of the church, and it was usually for an hour, maybe 2 hours before the actual funeral mass. And so my mother was laid in the state, in the back of the church in the vestibule or the reception area, whatever you want to call it. But so Steve had brought my mother, like everybody like put little tokens in the coffin of, like a remembrance of my mother. And Steve had brought a bunch of chips, poker chips, that, as he put them in there, he says, "Here you go, Grandma. I'm sure you're going to have fun up in heaven. But I thought you needed a little bit of like you needed something to get you started. You needed your ante." So he put the poker chips inside of in the coffin. And just as a little side note, well, my family, what we do is we always leave, I'm sure other people do this, I'm sure. Let me know if you do this, because I don't think we're the only ones that do this. But when you visit the gravesite, you always leave some change on the tombstone. And you always leave a couple dollars worth of change in the coffin. Because as my father said, just in case there's an entry fee, he wanted to make sure he had that covered. So anyway, so we, for my father and my mother, we left some coins in the coffin. You never know. Nobody's been there and back to tell you that it's not true. So if this is what you believe, and my father truly believed this, he says, I better have some change in my coffin. So we did that for my mother, but we put the, Steve put the chips in there too. So we did the final viewing, and you know, they closed the lid, and we went and sat in the church. And then as they were carrying it in, the coffin in, because they just carried it, they didn't put it on, they carried it to the altar for some reason, and then they set it on that little thing where they wheel them out. And as they were walking the casket, you could hear the chips and the coins one at a time falling and hitting the bottom of the coffin, and it would go ting, ta-ting, ta-ting. And it was like, it was just so, we just figured it was my mother just kind of flipping the coins. Because you don't know, the coffin is closed. You don't know what's going on in there. But it's just, and we all were just kind of smiling at each other because we were so sad. I mean, obviously we were so sad because it was my mother's was gone, you know, but we just thought all of them chips and all, and they didn't all fall at one time. They just fell a little bit at a time. And then at the very end, all of a sudden, a bunch of them fell. Ding, 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 ding. It's like she hit the jackpot. It was just like she hit the jackpot. All the little coins fell, you know, like when you played, well, she never did, the slots. But that was my fourth story. It was just, it was a sad, sad day, but it was like a happy memory. I mean, you always, I tell you, you got to look for the good and the bad. You just got to always look for the good and the bad. And that was the good. It really was. My father was always joking, and for some reason, when on his tombstone, we told it, we checked the paperwork, we checked everything, we looked at everything, but my father passed away on December 30th, 1983, and we did all the final paperwork on the tombstone, we did all of the things, we checked it, you know, like everything, and when it went into the ground, it said December 30th. It's like, I think that was my father calling up, changing the zero, the 1 to a 0, like it was a 1, and then he kind of like went like that, made it a 0. We never took it out of the ground. We just, you know, we just look at that when we go. We always put some change on the tombstone. Don't put chips on my mother. So it's always fun when you do go that you see all the other little, I don't go that much. I mean, I did at the beginning. I'm not a grave person. My daughter is, my sister and my brother are. They're always there keeping the headstone and the grave site for both my mom and my dad and my brother and my sister. They keep it all clean. They put flowers and stuff. The only time I really go is when out-of-town relatives come and they want to go to the grave, because I just don't believe that they're there. I just, you know, they're right here. They're right here. There's my mom and dad sitting right there. That's what I believe, and my sister Sue's over there, my brother Pat's over there. They're with me wherever I go. I really believe they're with me wherever I go. So, anyway, that's my 4 stories. I know it wasn't really too much weight related today, so I gotta think of a title for this video, but tomorrow's my weigh-in. I'm not showing you my food today because I've just rambled on too long anyhow, and you know, I eat very lightly on Fridays anyhow. I eat enough. Don't worry, I eat enough. I don't eat to lose weight. I eat enough to sacrifice. I guess that's the best way of putting it. But so hopefully I'll have a loss tomorrow. I really am not feeling it because Sunday kind of got away from me, and so I'm trying to play catch up the rest of the week this week. I've done very well this whole week, but Sunday, kind of got away from me. But as long as I don't have a gain, I'll be happy. As long as I don't have a gain, and I'm going to commit myself to not have a bad weekend this weekend, so I can get to my goal by my birthday, which is 3 weeks. 3 weeks from now. And then I got an email from our leader that I guess they're going to have meetings because they showed a picture before, when I told you before, we had almost like 100 people showed up. They set it up for 30 people, but if you're not with the person, you can't sit next to them. They just put it like if you're with like a, because we had a lot of husbands and wives and sons and daughters and mothers and stuff like that. Sons and daughters. Well, I mean, we had the whole gambit of everybody. So I think that they're going to tell you that if you're not with that person all the time, that you got to, socially distance 6 feet. But like I told you, I'm just doing online for now. I'm not feeling that comfortable. This will give you a clue that I'm not really that comfortable. But I'm getting there. Slowly I turn, step by step, inch by inch. That's from a movie. Okay, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, leave a comment, hit that like button, and share it if you think somebody might like to see it. And as always, stay safe.